Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Chicago, Cincinnati.
When you fly American Airlines, you're in for a very pleasant experience.
Why, thank you, sir.
If you ever miss the good old days of air travel, you're not the only one. But was flying really better back then, or do we just remember it that way? It's tough to picture a time when flying meant glamour and luxury. Nowadays, we're more worried about finding cheap flights and enduring cramped seats in economy class. However, the early days of commercial air travel were indeed a luxurious time. Whether you've flown once or 100 times, if you love to travel, there's always more to learn about planes. Join us as we explore the 13 funny air travel features from the golden age of flying. In the 1950s and 1960s, flying on an airplane was like taking a special trip, and only fancy people could afford it. Airlines wanted to be the best, so they tried really hard to give the richest passengers the fanciest food while they flew. American Airlines started it all in 1958 by serving full meals with things like steak and lobster. During that era, everyone got nice food, not just the rich people. They served big fancy meals to everyone, and some passengers even smoked cigars to cover up the seafood smell. But as more people started flying, airlines couldn't give everyone such fancy meals. Nowadays, having a lobster on a plane is not a good idea because it's too sharp, and there's a rule against it. Imagine the news saying, "Passenger uses a lobster claw to get into the cockpit." Not too long ago, people could just walk into the cockpit and talk to the pilot. Now, when you fly, you might notice that airlines try to give you food from the place you're flying to or from. Air France has lobster on flights from Paris to New York, and American Airlines serves barbecue on flights from Dallas to Seoul. You can also find local fast food in airports, so travelers can get a taste of the place they're visiting. It's all part of making flying more interesting and enjoyable for everyone. Moving forward, did you ever fly on Continental Airlines and chill out at the pub on their planes? How was the free popcorn, pub pong, and service? Did a lot of people use it? If not, no worries, we've got your back. Stick around as we're going to delve into it in our next exploration.
If you can't fly Continental, you might as well not fly.
Back in the 1970s, Continental Airlines had a cool feature on their wide-body aircraft, a pub for coach passengers. So if you hopped on one of their Douglas DC-10s, you could not only enjoy a drink, but also grab some free popcorn and play the video game Pong. The only other time we've seen a video game like that on a plane is in the movie Airport 77. It's awesome that it actually happened in real life for a while too. Since the pub was a unique selling point for the airline, the marketing team went all out to promote it. Taking a look at the seating plan for the Continental Airlines Douglas DC-10, you'll find the pub right behind first class. Interestingly, the seats in the pub have regular row numbers, suggesting they could probably be sold as well. Onboard pubs offered a unique and social flying experience, something unheard of in today's air travel. It was a special treat for passengers to have a pub atmosphere at 30,000 feet, making the journey more enjoyable and memorable. So if you missed out on this fantastic in-flight experience, don't worry, there's always another adventure waiting for you. As you relish the memory of Continental Airlines' DC-10 pub flights in the 1970s, consider this. What if the pub experience was just the beginning? Join us in discovering the extravagant evolution of the 1970s cocktail lounge party room. In the lively and extravagant spirit of the 1970s, airlines introduced a revolutionary concept that embodied the essence of the era, the in-flight cocktail lounge and party room. This innovative feature redefined air travel, turning it into a social and celebratory experience. Imagine stepping onto an airplane and finding not just seats, but a dedicated party lounge. This lounge was often situated in the rear of the aircraft, away from the traditional seating arrangements. Decked out with plush seating, vibrant decor, and a well-stocked bar, the party room was a microcosm of the disco era's glamour and extravagance. The ambiance was electric, with passengers enjoying cocktails, socializing, and dancing at cruising altitudes. It was a space designed to foster a sense of community among travelers, bringing them together in a unique and festive environment. The capacity of these in-flight party lounges varied depending on the airline and aircraft model. Some lounges could accommodate a substantial number of passengers, turning the back of the plane into a mini nightclub at 30,000 feet. The communal atmosphere and shared experiences forged connections among travelers, making the journey as memorable as the destination. As air travel evolved and entered the 1980s, the concept of in-flight party lounges gradually faded away. Airlines shifted their focus to more practical considerations, optimizing cabin space for additional revenue-generating seating. While the party rooms are now a nostalgic memory, they remain a symbol of a bygone era when flying was not just about reaching a destination, but also about enjoying the journey with a touch of glamour and camaraderie. In the 1970s, the concept of first-class lounges revolutionized the air travel experience. These exclusive spaces were designed to provide a haven of sophistication and relaxation, setting a new standard for in-flight amenities. First-class lounges during this era were opulent retreats within the aircraft, featuring plush seating, elegant decor, and personalized service. The ambiance was akin to a high-end hotel, creating an atmosphere of indulgence high above the clouds. Passengers were treated to gourmet meals, fine wines, and top-notch amenities, marking a departure from the more practical approach of previous decades. The design of these lounges reflected the epitome of mid-century luxury, with rich materials, subdued lighting, and attention to detail. Some airlines went the extra mile by incorporating exclusive features such as private cabins, dedicated attendants, and even onboard pianos, adding a touch of extravagance to the flying experience. Over time, the evolution of first-class lounges mirrored changing trends in air travel and passenger expectations. As technology advanced and aircraft designs evolved, the focus shifted towards maximizing efficiency and accommodating larger numbers of passengers. First-class lounges have adapted to the digital age, offering cutting-edge amenities such as high-speed internet, multimedia entertainment systems, and business centers. The intimate, exclusive spaces of the 1970s gave way to more spacious and functional layouts. In the glamorous era of 1970s air travel, the concept of an upstairs airplane lounge for VIP passengers epitomized the epitome of luxury in the skies. These exclusive lounges were designed to cater to the elite, offering a lavish and sophisticated experience that went far beyond the typical in-flight amenities. The upstairs airplane lounge was a haven for VIPs, providing a secluded and refined space where discerning passengers could escape the hustle and bustle of the crowded main cabin. It was often located on the upper deck of wide-body aircraft, granting an unparalleled panoramic view of the clouds and skies. The environment of these VIP lounges was carefully curated, featuring plush seating, elegant decor, and attentive service. Passengers enjoyed a heightened level of comfort, sipping on premium beverages while socializing in an atmosphere of exclusivity. The lounges were not just a place to relax, they were a status symbol, signaling a passenger's elite status and access to a realm of luxury that set them apart from the rest of the travelers on the plane. As air travel evolved over the years, the concept of exclusive upstairs airplane lounges underwent changes. With the advent of more efficient aircraft designs and a shift in the airline industry's approach to cabin configuration, these VIP spaces started to phase out. However, the legacy of these exclusive lounges lives on, influencing the modern-day first-class and business-class cabins that continue to offer a premium and exclusive flying experience. The luxurious upstairs airplane lounge symbolized the epitome of 1970s air travel glamour, while the iconic 747 Astroliner revolutionized flying during the same era. In the next exploration, we'll delve into how the latter shaped the future of air travel.
American Airlines is rolling out some great news. A new low fare to 3 American cities.
The 747 airplane was a big deal in aviation. It was longer than the Wright brothers' first flight and wider than a big road. Its tail was as tall as a 6-story building. It started flying people around on January 22, 1970, and it changed how people traveled. Before the 747, there were smaller planes, but the 747 was special because it had more seats and could carry more weight. This meant more people could fly at once, and it made flying cheaper. The first time it flew people from New York to London was a big deal. It marked the start of a new phase in flying in big planes. Boeing, the company that made the 747, wanted to make more money from each seat and each ton of stuff the plane carried. They also wanted to keep the good times of flying in the 1960s going. The 747 helped make flying more affordable for regular people. The insides of the plane were fancy, with nice things for people to enjoy while flying, whether they were in first class or economy. People loved the 747. It became famous around the world and made air travel seem cool and glamorous. Even years later, it's still a symbol of how cool flying used to be. This exhibit at Northwestern University's Transportation Library celebrates the 50th anniversary of the 747's first passenger flight. It shows things from the past, like tickets and other stuff, to remember how special the 747 was when it first started flying people in 1970. Airline meals are special because they need to be cooked and cooled ahead of time. They come in a unique container that can be heated in a special oven on the airplane. The whole process of getting meals ready and serving them to passengers on a plane is called airline catering. This started in the 1920s when airlines first began giving meals to people flying with them. At first, the meals were basic, like sandwiches or cold cuts. But as more and more people started flying in the 1950s and 1960s, airlines began to care more about the quality and variety of the food they served during the flight. This led to fancier menus and special equipment to prepare, store, and serve the meals on the plane. To make the dining experience on the plane feel like being in a restaurant, airlines also paid attention to the dishes, utensils, and glasses used for serving meals. They considered the appearance, functionality, storage, and durability of plates, forks, and glasses. Occasionally, these dishes featured the airline's logo or a unique design associated with the country or special promotions.
Yes, sir, every drink is served with that personal touch.
Pan American World Airways, also known as Pan Am, was a big airline that flew all over the world for much of the 1900s. It started in 1927, initially delivering mail and passengers between Key West, Florida, and Havana, Cuba. Over time, it grew under the leadership of Juan Trippe, an American entrepreneur, and added more destinations. Pan Am became famous for being the first airline to fly globally and introducing important changes to the airline industry like big airplanes, jumbo jets, and computerized reservation systems. Until it closed in 1991, Pan Am was considered a symbol of luxury travel. It had a famous blue globe logo, and its pilots wore white caps. In the 1950s to 1970s, Pan Am was at its peak, with a modern fleet, well-trained staff, and many amenities. It flew millions of passengers to numerous countries, and it was like the unofficial airline of the United States. However, starting in the mid-1970 SS, Pan Am faced problems, both from inside the company and from increased competition due to changes in airline regulations. Despite attempts to fix its financial troubles in the 1980s, Pan Am had to sell off its assets and eventually declared bankruptcy in 1991. When it stopped flying, many people felt like it marked the end of a great era in air travel. Even though Pan Am is no longer operating, its name and legacy are still remembered today.
On 747s, all part of a better business experience from TWA.
Transworld Airlines, originally formed in 1930 as Transcontinental and Western Air through a merger, later became Transworld Airlines during the post-war era. As it expanded globally in 1959, TWA introduced jet flights to Europe and initiated its upscale Royal Ambassador first-class service. This service, touted as the best for airline travelers, featured fine bone china tableware crafted by the Rosenthal China Company of Germany. They had a special design with a red sash and medallion, showcasing the initials RA, and it became so popular that TWA offered it for sale to the public through in-flight catalogs. The set included plates for entrees, bread, and sides, along with a bowl and a demi-tasse cup with a saucer. TWA also provided Swedish glassware adorned with the Royal Ambassador medallion and salt and pepper shakers. The flatware, crafted by the International Silver Company, showcased a distinctive flowing pattern and highlighted the TWA service mark. The design aimed to provide a dining experience reminiscent of international dignitaries, complemented by a menu resembling that of a gourmet restaurant. Notable dishes included Chateaubriand served from a cart, veal piccata, and lobster thermidor. This comprehensive offering made the Royal Ambassador service stand out as a luxurious and sophisticated choice for airline passengers. In the glamorous era of 1970s air travel, the first-class airline meal cart was not just a utilitarian conveyance of food. It was a symbol of elegance and sophistication, representing the pinnacle of in-flight dining experiences. The menu offered on these meal carts was a gastronomic delight. Passengers were treated to a selection of high-quality dishes prepared by renowned chefs, featuring a fusion of international cuisines. From succulent cuts of steak and seafood delicacies to gourmet salads and decadent desserts, the options were crafted to cater to the discerning palates of first-class travelers. The appearance of the first-class meal cart was equally impressive. Impeccably designed with polished surfaces, fine china, and gleaming silverware, it exuded an air of sophistication. Flight attendants skillfully navigated the narrow aisles, expertly presenting each course with a level of service that mirrored that of a five-star restaurant. Over time, the first-class airline meal cart underwent significant evolution, influenced by changes in consumer preferences, advancements in technology, and shifts in the airline industry. The rise of cost-cutting measures led to a decline in the opulence of in-flight dining. Prepackaged meals and simplified service became more common, marking a departure from the elaborate presentations of the past.
The smokers have won, but in this battle, the smoke hasn't cleared. Many passengers without the nicotine habit say their fellow flyers should skip their cigarettes.
In the past, people were allowed to smoke on airplanes. However, things changed in the late 1980s and early 1990s when most flights started banning smoking. The reason for this was that people became worried about the health risks of secondhand smoke and the discomfort it causes for non-smokers. In 1969, a person named Ralph Nader was one of the first in the United States to say that smoking should be banned on airplanes. Flight attendants' unions also pushed for a ban on smoking during flights. United Airlines was the first to create a non-smoking section in 1971. In the United States, both tobacco companies and airlines didn't want any rules about smoking. In 1976, the U.S. Civil Aeronautics Board banned cigar and pipe smoking on planes, but it tried to limit this ban in 1978 under pressure from tobacco interests. In 1987, Congress made a law to ban in-flight smoking, and in 1988, U.S. Airlines banned smoking on flights under 2 hours. This was extended to flights under 6 hours in 1990, and by 2000 it applied to all domestic and international flights. Even though smoking was banned, pilots could still smoke because of concerns about their safety if they suddenly stopped. Ashtrays are still on airplane bathroom doors for safety in case someone breaks the no-smoking rule. Nowadays, smoking is strictly not allowed on any commercial flights. With smoking prohibited on flights due to health concerns, airlines encountered another challenge: alcohol consumption. Let's discover how the mid-20th century saw unlimited in-flight drinks, prompting regulations and compromises. Before 1949, American Airlines didn't offer alcoholic drinks during flights. But things changed when a few airlines decided to start serving alcohol. However, it wasn't as simple as just serving drinks wherever they wanted. There were different laws in each state about selling alcohol, so airlines could only serve drinks in certain states. In 1950, the New York Times reported an example. On a flight from New York to the West Coast, passengers could have a drink over New Jersey, but not over Pennsylvania because it was a state where alcohol couldn't be sold. As more passengers started getting drunk on flights, the Federal Aviation Administration had to step in by the mid-1950 ES. They set a rule that limited passengers to 2 drinks. Some crafty passengers found ways around this rule, either by pressuring flight attendants to give them more drinks or by taking drinks from other passengers. Seeing the growing issue, Congress considered banning the serving of all alcohol on domestic flights. Eventually, 6 U.S. airlines agreed to a compromise. They would limit the serving of hard liquor but still allow beer and wine. In the 1950s, there was a time when passengers could enjoy unlimited alcohol during flights, which is quite different from today's more regulated in-flight beverage services. This era marked a shift in how alcohol was served on planes, with airlines having to navigate state laws, deal with intoxicated passengers, and eventually agree to certain limits on alcohol consumption during flights. In the 1950s, an era when air travel was still a novel and thrilling experience, airlines added a charming touch to the journey by giving out postcards upon boarding. The postcards were typically handed out to passengers as a memento, capturing the essence of their journey. These cards often featured picturesque images of the aircraft, scenic views from high above the clouds, or iconic landmarks of the destinations they were headed to. In terms of appearance, these postcards were meticulously designed, reflecting the style and aesthetics of the era. They bore a touch of elegance, often featuring illustrations or photographs that emphasized the sleekness and modernity of the aircraft. The airline logos and branding were prominently displayed. As air travel evolved over the years, the tradition of handing out postcards during boarding gradually faded away. With the advent of digitalization and changing trends in the airline industry, the focus shifted towards other aspects of passenger experience. However, the nostalgic charm of these postcards remains etched in the memories of those who experienced the golden age of aviation.